Please put your hands together for a very good friend of mine, Mamawala.
Thank you. One more time for Gordon, guys. Yes, thank you for being here. It's good to be here. I've been traveling a lot of late, and I recently heard the greatest announcement ever on an airplane. About 20 minutes into the flight attendant comes over the intercom. She goes, "Hey, I just want to let everybody know, today's in-flight entertainment is the film Jobs, the life story of Steve Jobs starring Ashton Kutcher." And I froze for a minute because I didn't know if I was witnessing a weird practical joke, or if she had just never seen the word Jobs written in 35 years of being alive. There was this elderly couple sitting to my left, and I nudged this 70-year-old woman, and I went, "This flight attendant is doing a horrible Job." She thought that was so funny. She woke up her sleeping old husband to tell him my joke. And we found my target demographic. It is that guy. Thanks for being here. Happy to have you back, sir. It's not a huge crowd, but you guys are wonderful. This is we appreciate this a lot as comedians. We do terrible shows all the time. It's true. Last time I did the worst show of my life, I actually grew up in Hillsborough, New Jersey, not too far from here, and I got coerced into coming back to host a charity battle of the bands at my old high school. It went horribly, and after the show, a kid I had not seen since high school came up to me and said, and I quote, "I can't believe I ironed a polo for this." Sometimes that's how this goes. But despite my Battle of the Bands fiasco, actually I feel like my career's starting to go in the right direction. I don't want to be cocky, but I'll tell you guys why. I want to share with you an email that I got to my website recently. I want to read it to you guys. This is what it said. It's about a week and a half ago. "Hello, we do a family time comedy show. It is completely clean and appropriate for all ages, teens to adult. No profanity at all and no sexual content at all. Christian event. Here's the best part. We book 3 comedians, all of which are of different ethnicity. We have a black and a white, and are looking for a Latino or other ethnicity, which Adam fits. LOL," in all caps. Final question. What is his purse for 20 to 25 minutes of comedy? Guys, which had a funny end to that story, but I talked to them last weekend and I'm doing that show. I'll let you know how it goes next time I see you. If you're wondering what kind of other ethnicity I am, my dad is from India and my mom is a small white lady from Wisconsin. So, as far as my college applications were concerned, I was an American Indian. It's an affirmative action joke that 60% of you got. Well done. My name is Adam, though. People wonder why I don't have a more Indian-sounding name, and I get it. A lot of Indian people have unusual names. I used to teach tennis as a summer job. I remember taking attendance this one year. I get down this little Indian boy's name. His first name, I kid you not, was Shubham. Shubham. That's the name of a human being that I taught tennis to. Now, it's not spelled how I'm saying it. It was spelled S-H-U-B-H-A-M. But even he pronounced it Shubham, which was amazing to me. I wanted to find out how he got his name and how old he was. He told me at the time he was 10 years old. That's when he was born. He said, "My birthday is October 2nd, 2001. Made me ask myself, who the fuck names their kid Shubham in October of 2001? Like, you live here now. You get what just went down 3 weeks ago. Does that seem like a good idea? Like, I'm just trying to figure out the thought process that goes into that. Like, wow, look at this beautiful brown baby we've just created. What can we name him so as to ensure that he will never successfully make it to an airport?" Exactly. I just feel like if you name your son Shubham, you're making certain choices for how his life might go. Like, if you name your kid Shubham, he goes up to be a terrorist and make you be that surprised. Like, you gotta take some accountability for your actions. You can't just name your son Chad and be bummed out when he's a douchebag. Like, you created that. That's how it goes. Sounds like someone knows a Chad. I bet he snowboards and drinks Mountain Dew constantly. They all do. I was kind of a nerdy kid, I'm not gonna lie. As a child, I always loved the board game Battleship growing up, because it combined my 2 favorite childhood interests, bingo, and of course, intense maritime warfare. your lukewarm response confirms my theory that battleship jokes are inherently hit or miss.
Yeah!
It's a stupid joke, but I'm very proud. Guys, I want to get serious for a second. When I was 12, my grandpa died, and it came as a real shock, because he'd never done that before, but the day that he died, I was supposed to play in this basketball game. I didn't want to go because I was very upset, but my mom insisted that I go. She's like, no, you should really play. It's what he would have wanted. He loved watching me play sports. But a couple days later, we went to his funeral, and I realized people only ever use that phrase to encourage positive things. Because after the funeral, we went out for lunch, and our waiter was black. I tapped my mom on the shoulder, and I was like, should we ask for a different waiter? She was like, what? And I was like, it's what Grandpa would have wanted.
Oh my God.
I was an intensely racist man, kind of a dick. My grandfather was so racist that later in life, as a concession, he agreed to start referring to black people as N's, which is still incredibly offensive, but also gave me a great idea for a racist dating site called Trying to Make Ends Meet. Working out? It's offensive, but it is catchy. I appreciate that you guys mostly laughed about that. That feels good. People are very sensitive now. Do you realize that our society is so politically correct that there are people out there who are genuinely concerned about offending pets and animals? Like, it's gone beyond not wanting to hurt people's feelings of like different races or ethnicities. I know this because last summer when I was doing that Battle of the Bands, I was out staying with my parents in Hillsborough, and I went out for a run. And I noticed a sign on a telephone pole for a lost cat. And I stopped to read the sign. And the wording on it was so ridiculous that I took it down and I've been carrying it around with me ever since then. So I want to show it to you tonight. It's falling apart, but I have photocopies, so don't worry about that. Okay, let me just read some information about this cat. And then we'll go back as a group and we'll figure it out together. Okay, he's a lost cat. His name is Felix. And he was last seen the morning of July 19th of last year. So he's probably dead. Let's be honest, set expectations. He is described as male, neutered, that's fine. Description: length between 30 and 36 inches, weight 13 pounds. So that's all been fairly normal up to here. This is where it takes a strange turn. He's also described as a skinny, large-boned cat. First thing that jumps out at me. Coloring: white with black patches, light green eyes, that's fine. Disposition: does not get along well with other cats. Timid, but does have a loud meow. And my favorite part, in the health category, shots for rabies and feline distemper are up to date, is prone to urinary tract infection. Alright, let's take it from the top. Now, the name Felix bothers me for two reasons. The first is that the name was written in quotation marks, which seems very unnecessary to me. Like, is that not actually his name? Like, oh, you guys met our cat, Felix? Like, what's his real name? What else does he go by? And also, Felix for a cat, that's really the most inventive you go in your name of your pets. Well, they will lose their dogs Milo and Otis and Lassie and fucking Airbud. Skinny, large-boned cat. Let's go there next. Who are these people trying not to offend? I think that's really my main question here. Like, if they describe Felix as a fat cat, he's going to see the sign and get pissed. He's walking around the neighborhood, and he comes across the sign, he's like, they put up a sign for me, they must really miss me, I should probably go. Fat? Are you kidding me? You know I'm skinny with large bones. We've been over this how many times? Disposition: does not get along well with other cats. Timid, but does have a loud meow. Now that's oddly specific, and that seems like it's supposed to help me differentiate amongst a larger group of cats. So, theoretically, I'll come across like a gang of cats in my parents' neighborhood, which happens all the time. And I'll be like, alright, here we go again, let me get on my checklist. Okay. White with black patches, light green eyes, good start, but he actually seems like he's getting along pretty well with the other cats. He's shy, but I don't know if I call him timid, so I probably shouldn't even call him. The best part of this whole thing, by far, is prone to urinary tract infection. How in the name of God is that supposed to help me identify this cat? Even if theoretically I am weird enough and knowledgeable enough to pick up stray cats and track them for urinary tract infections, even if I find that he has them, I'm supposed to like invite him into my house and accommodate that somehow? Like bring Felix into my garage and offer him a saucer of cranberry juice instead of milk? I was expecting you, but the point I'm trying to make here is if you just lost a fat, ill-tempered cat who's prone to UTIs, maybe just cut your losses and upgrade to a better cat. I have to put this away carefully. Sometimes people think that joke is anti-animal, just want to clarify that it's purely anti-cat. I don't want there to be any confusion. Thank you. You just woo and everything, but you need at least one. You need one woo in every show. I like it. We've covered a lot of ground tonight. This is good. We got racist people. We got people who don't want to offend cats. Then, of course, you have homophobic people. Gordon was just talking about that. I find that very interesting. Like, I think you forget when you live in a more liberal part of the country that people are like that, but there are people who are very offended by the idea of homosexuality. I think my favorite thing I've heard people say, I think they're being very tolerant, is like, listen, man, I'm fine with gay people as long as they don't try to recruit me. Like, is that happening? is that a valid concern? And even if it somehow were, how insecure are you with your own sexuality that your greatest fear in life is for a bunch of Jehovah's Witness gays to come to your front door? Like a PowerPoint presentation or a pamphlet and all the reasons you should be gay. And you let them in, you're like, damn it, I'm gay now. Like, only 1%. I'm very pro-gay rights, pro-gay marriage, but I was inadvertently homophobic on the subway recently. I'll explain. I have mild OCD, I have some like obsessive tendencies, and I do this thing on the subway where I want the metal bar to line up with the center of the sliding doors, and if it doesn't, it makes my brain hurt because that's how OCD works. So I'm doing my OCD thing, and unbeknownst to me, there's a gay couple sitting in a two-seater by the door, but all they're seeing me doing from their perspective is squinting towards them. It's going like this. A lot. So finally one of them goes, do you have a problem? And I was like, yeah, I think I do. Because I thought he was asking about the OCD. Like, I thought he was concerned for my well-being. So they got up and angrily left the train, and it wasn't until a few stops later that I realized what had happened. And while I feel bad they thought I was a bigot, if I'm being honest with myself, I think I would ultimately rather be thought of as a homophobe than as a guy who's doing whatever the fuck I was doing. Things are not proud of. Like, as I'm getting older, I'm meeting more and more people who have rock bottom stories. They usually involve alcohol or drugs. Mine does not, but I'd like to share with you anyway. I did not lose my virginity until I was a senior in college. I was almost 22 years old. It's not rock bottom, but it's also not a point of pride. It was a lot of hand jobs at that point in my life. Guys, let's be honest, okay? Getting a hand job is a lot like going to a modern art museum. You try to enjoy it, but the whole time you're just shaking your head going, I legitimately could have done this myself. So I graduated from college having slept with only one person. I'm out in the world trying to do the one-night stand thing, and I'm figuring out pretty quickly that I'm not only bad at sex, but I am aggressively bad, to the point where I would just finish immediately, which was very embarrassing. Now, what made this even worse is that I've been told I'm pretty well endowed, which is cool, but it's more disappointing in that situation when a woman sees something that looks like it should be a good time, and then that happens and everything's ruined. They'll be like going to play pickup basketball, and you see a guy who's 6'7", you're like, oh, let's pick that guy, he's got to be great at basketball. And then as soon as you pick him, he just comes in his pants. So I realized I need to fix this problem as quickly as possible. So I'm very furtively Googling cures for premature ejaculation. And it's just a lot of Google images of couples sleeping in opposite directions. But eventually, I noticed a link for something called the Ejaculation Master, which is an ebook that promises to cure your problems 100% of the time, and is available to download for $75. So I was like, what a deal! So I bought it. I got duped. I bought this stupid thing, and I'm reading through it, and they tell you that you're supposed to try to masturbate and then stop yourself before you have to finish to learn stamina, but the best thing you can do to simulate how sex actually feels is to go out and buy a fleshlight. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, a fleshlight is a male sex toy that is a rubber facsimile of a vagina that fits inside a flashlight-looking container. Now, the design is hilarious to me because it's meant to look like a flashlight so that nobody would know what it is, as if I'm not going to take it home and hide it immediately. Like, I'm just going to proudly display it on my coffee table, and friends come over and they're like, hey man, cool decorative flashlight. I'm like, oh, thank you so much, but don't touch it. So, I decided I'm going to buy one of these things. So I find a location of a sex shop very far from where I live. And when I walk in, to my surprise, there are 4 varieties of the fleshlight. I was not prepared for options. There's vagina, the standard, anus, mouth, and my personal favorite, nondescript. Very off-putting and strange. Seems like a coin slide, I can't make your mind up. So I got the vagina one, because didn't want to be weird. And I bring it home, and I'm reading through the directions. And they tell you that you're supposed to take the rubber part out and you heat it under hot running water so that it gets warm. And then you put it back in the flashlight container, and then you have to add lube, which is sold separately, which I feel like they're gouging me on lube, that should be included. And then you have to either hold it or find some place to put it so you can use it hands-free, which is another interesting debate to have with yourself. Now, as I've started sharing this story, the most common question I keep getting is, does it feel better than masturbating? And the answer is yeah. Physically, it feels better. But emotionally, it feels like the worst moment of your life. Guys, my point is this. You may think you've had a rock bottom experience. Maybe you got a DUI. Maybe you stole from somebody to pay for drugs. I don't know. But there is no rock bottom more shameful than the shower you take after you've just wedged a fake vagina between a mattress and a box spring. So I just got engaged last month. It was a real thing. I've come a long way, thank you. That's true. Thank you. My fiance's name is Allie, but she spells it A-L-I, so on paper it looks like I might be in a same-sex relationship with a Muslim man. She's younger than me. I'm 28, and she's or almost 28. She's 23, which is not a big age difference, but it's enough that it allows me to say things to her that start out romantic and end creepily. Sometimes for fun, I'm just like, Allie, I love you so much. I wish we could have met each other sooner, like when I was a freshman in high school and you were in 4th grade. Just like that. I appreciate her a great deal because I've had horrible girlfriends before. Like I was dating a girl one time. We got into this very intense diet, which I was fine with, until she started incorporating all these cheat days where she would still eat really healthy but fuck other guys. In a lot of ways, I think it's actually better when somebody does something awful to you because you can move on quickly out of spite. When a good relationship ends, you feel like someone has died, and yet everybody around you thinks it's comforting to insult that person in your presence, which is weird. You tell people, like, yeah, my girlfriend and I broke up. And their first reaction was like, yeah, man, you're better off. She's a bitch anyway. That's not helpful. So what are you saying to me? Hey, I know you're really depressed and you feel like your heart just got ripped out of your body, but just for the record, I think you have terrible judgment. No one does that when someone actually dies. I'm like, yeah, man, my grandma died. I'm really upset. I was like, man, you're better off. She's a bitch anyway. Just be me. Well, my time is coming to an end here, but I'll leave you with this last thought. There's so much talk about double standards, and I completely admit that guys generally benefit from double standards. But women get away with certain things that men never could in a million years. Like last year, Bud Light aired a Super Bowl commercial that you guys probably saw called Ian Up for Whatever. It was a hidden camera thing where this girl walks up to a guy by himself in a bar. She's holding a Bud Light. And she goes, hey, if I give this to you, are you up for whatever happens next? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then he has the best night of his life. But if a man walks up to a woman by herself at a bar with an open Bud Light bottle and goes, hey, if I give this to you, are you up for whatever happens next? That is not a Bud Light commercial, that's a public service. Not the same thing at all. I'm Mamawala. Enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you. Bye.